In 1946, the United States took a Pacific island from its people, and the Marshall Islands never got it back. Not really. The U.S. military moved in, detonated 23 nuclear bombs on that atoll. 23. Then told the Marshallese people it was safe to return. The families came back. They planted gardens. They fed their children from that soil. They drank that water. The U.S. government already had the test results before the first family sat down to eat. They knew the land was poisoned. They let them eat anyway. Then they evacuated them a second time and called it a mistake. The Marshall Islands is still waiting for justice. The United States is still withholding the documents. This is the story they never taught you in school. Bikini Atoll sits in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a ring of tiny islands surrounding a lagoon so blue it does not look real. The water is warm. The reef is alive. The coconut palms grow so thick the ground beneath them stays permanently cool. For generations, the Marshallese people of Bikini had lived there. They fished that lagoon. They raised their children on that shore. They buried their dead in that soil. It was not just land. It was everything. Then the Americans came. World War II had just ended. The United States had a new weapon, and they needed somewhere to test it. Somewhere remote. Somewhere that would not matter. Commodore Ben Wyatt sailed to Bikini in early 1946. He sat down with King Judah, the leader of the Bikinian people, and he asked them to give up their island. He compared them to the children of Israel. He said they would be making a sacrifice for the good of all men everywhere. King Judah looked at his people. He said, in Marshallese, "We will go." What choice did he have? 167 people were loaded onto a U.S. Navy transport ship. They were taken to Rongerik Atoll, a smaller island, a worse island, an island with so little food that within 2 years they were starving. While they starved on Rongerik, the U.S. military was arranging 95 ships in the Bikini Lagoon. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers. They loaded live animals onto the decks. Goats, pigs, rats. Then on July 1st, 1946, they detonated an atomic bomb above the lagoon. 3 weeks later, they detonated a second one underwater. That second explosion sent a column of radioactive water half a mile into the sky. Ships flipped. Ships sank. The lagoon itself became radioactive. And the people who had lived there were on a starving island 200 miles away, still waiting to go home. But this is where the story stops being about bombs and starts being about what governments do after the explosion. In 1954, the United States tested its largest hydrogen bomb ever built. Castle Bravo, detonated at Bikini Atoll, 2.5 times more powerful than anyone expected. The fallout cloud drifted east. It reached Rongerik Atoll, where Marshallese families were living. Nobody warned them. Nobody evacuated them. A white powder began falling from a clear sky. Children thought it was snow. They had never seen snow. They ran outside and played in it. They caught it in their hands. Some of them put it in their mouths. That powder was radioactive fallout. Within hours, adults were vomiting. Children were losing patches of hair. Skin was burning from the inside out. It took the United States military 2 full days to evacuate Rongerik. 2 days. The fallout reached them in hours. And documents declassified decades later showed the U.S. government knew about the drift path before the bomb was detonated. They knew the fallout would reach inhabited islands. They tested anyway. Then those same documents used a phrase that should make your blood run cold. They called the Marshallese people a valuable opportunity to study the effects of radiation on human beings. What followed was a medical program that lasted for decades. Marshallese people, adults and children, were examined, measured, and monitored. Not treated, monitored. Thyroid cancers appeared. Miscarriages multiplied. Children were born with conditions that had no names before the bombs. One Marshallese word emerged for these pregnancies: jellyfish babies. Infants born without bones. Translucent. Alive for only minutes. And the American scientists came with their clipboards. And they measured. And they wrote it all down. In 1968, President Lyndon Johnson announced that Bikini was safe. He told the Bikinian people they could go home. They went home. They planted gardens. They rebuilt homes. They ate the coconuts and the breadfruit and the fish from the lagoon. For 8 years, they lived on their island again. In 1978, the truth came out. The food they had been eating was heavily contaminated. The soil was still radioactive. Their bodies showed the highest levels of internal radioactive contamination ever recorded in any known population. They were evacuated again. The second time they left Bikini, some of them did not cry. They had no tears left. The United States eventually paid out a settlement. The Nuclear Claims Tribunal awarded the Marshall Islands $2 billion. The U.S. Congress authorized $150 million, not $2 billion, $150 million, for land that scientists now say will not be safe for human habitation for generations. The Bikini people are scattered today. Some live on Kili Island, a small exposed island with no lagoon, where the waves batter the shore every single day, where there is no calm water to teach their children to swim the way their grandparents swam at Bikini. Some live in Arkansas. Some live in Hawaii. Some live in places their grandparents could never have imagined. And Bikini Atoll sits empty, brilliant turquoise, perfectly untouched, declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2010. The sunken ships in the lagoon are now one of the most famous dive sites on Earth. Tourists pay thousands of dollars to swim through the wreckage. The Bikini people cannot live there, but the world can visit. Here is what you have not heard yet. The full story of what the U.S. government knew before Castle Bravo was detonated is still not fully declassified. There are documents that researchers have spent decades trying to access. There are scientists who worked on the program who took certain things to their graves. And there are patterns in those medical monitoring records so specific and so deliberate that when you see the timeline laid out, there is only one conclusion a reasonable person can reach. We are going to lay it out, document by document, decision by decision, the names of the officials who signed off, the dates the warnings were filed and ignored, the rooms where Marshallese people were never allowed to sit. If you think you know how bad this story gets, you do not. What you just heard is the introduction. This channel exists because these stories deserve witnesses, not students. Witnesses. People who hear what happened and refuse to let it stay buried. If this video moved you, share it right now. Not later. Right now. Because the person you send this to may only know Bikini Atoll as a swimsuit brand. And they need to know what that name actually means. Drop the word witness in the comments if you made it to the end. And if you know a story, a suppressed atrocity, a covered-up betrayal, a government crime the world has not fully reckoned with, drop it below. This channel covers what gets buried. You tell us what to dig up next.